In today's show, we're talking Cleveland Cavaliers, a season preview, an opportunity to enter the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, and we put the koala under the lens. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok, at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. All right, you've seen the Chicago Bulls show earlier today. We've done a Hornets one, a Celtics one, a Nets one, a Hawks one, and now we're going to do a Cavs one. You get an opportunity in the show to enter the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. Warning.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
I'm not going to go into detail about it. Quick, just you can see some details up on the screen. Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, absolutely huge fantasy basketball tournament. You can enter either points or categories or both. $50 entry, 18-man rosters, slow draft starting October. All the details are there. I've talked about it many times. I don't need to go more into that, but there will be an entry form linked in the show below, in the description on YouTube and in the show notes on the podcast. Fill that out and but stay tuned. There's going to be a specific question from this show that you need to answer to be able to get in. Let's look at the Cavs. Let's look at their schedule. It is not bad. Their schedule pretty good. They have 47 quality games. They're a good team. This is what happens. Good teams tend to get better schedules. 47 quality games. That's helpful. It helps, all the higher number of quality games your team has, the better it is for the fantasy value of them. They have 15 back-to-backs. That's not great, but there's no one on this team where you look at it as a major problem. But I will always maintain this, is that back-to-backs become a problem when someone gets hurt during the season. There are very few players who aren't hurt that sit every back-to-back. One player last season, Al Horford, that's it. There's no one on this team you will routinely sit back-to-backs, but the problem that you lead to is if Garland or Mitchell or Mobley or Allen come back, is when they come back for those first 2, 3, 4 weeks, month, depending on the severity of the injury, they'll sit out those back-to-backs then. Like that's where the problem lies. So we enter the season with no worries at all. But something could happen at some point where it just cuts a little bit of time back in the rehab process. They have a lot of max weeks. Now, conversely, that means they have a lot of lower volume weeks, but they're not as spread out. A lot of teams have got these 12 max weeks. They've got 16. That's the most of any team in the NBA. But of course, because every team plays 82 games, the fact that they've got 16 max weeks means that those other 8 weeks of the season are low, and there's going to be some lower ones in there. So that is worth noting, but the 16 is really good. Their playoff weeks, if you end on the 24th of March, they go 4-3-4, pretty good. 3-4-4, which is a max for the 31st of March. 4-4-4, which is a max for the 7th of April. And then they end the season with a 4-4-3. So, pretty good playoff schedule. Pretty good quality games. A lot of max weeks. The only negative in their schedule overall is the back-to-backs, and that's not really too much of a problem, I don't think. What are the pressure points on this team for the season? It's got to be. It has to be Rubio because we don't know. And by pressure points, I mean when we're looking at projections and when we're putting the drone up the top and looking down at everything on this Cavs team and trying to figure out how things are going to play out, we don't know what's happening with Rubio. Of course, we hope everything's all right. Bloke's been playing professionally since he was like 14, moved to another country at age 20, whatever it was. 2 ACL injuries. Really struggled coming back from this last one. And the toll on his life must have just gotten too much. There's no talk at this point that I'm aware of retirement, but I don't know. I thought that he might take the World Cup off, which he loves playing for Spain, so that would have been disappointing, and maybe be coming back November, December, but I don't know. At this point, I'm probably looking at maybe All-Star break for Rubio. Maybe he doesn't play at all. And that impacts not so much guys like Ty Jerome. We don't care that much about backup point guards there. But it impacts like a Karis LeVert. And then what happens if Garland or Mitchell go down? Because Mitchell's theoretically could be the point guard, but he's not a point guard. Let's be honest. Like if Garland's out, what do they do? Are they starting Ty Jerome? Do they have LeVert and Mitchell as their point guards? Like it's rough, man. It gets really rough. The other pressure point is what the hell happens at small forward? Earlier today, I did the Bulls podcast saying, well, we don't know what's going on at point guard. And the same here. I would say it's like a 99% chance that Max Strus, the Winter Soldier, he's the starter at small forward. But does he stick there? He's not a very good defender. He's pretty small. He's a good shooter who doesn't shoot well. Look at his numbers. And then there's Isaac Okoro. There's Karis LeVert. You could go big and play George Niang. You could throw Dean Wade back in there. Who knows? So many different ways they can go about that. And which way they go impacts a lot of guys. Because Strus out there puts defensive stress on a lot of other players. Okoro out there puts offensive stress on a lot of other players. LeVert out there also puts offensive stress on a lot of other players. Or offensive stress on the whole team because of his inefficiency and need to have the ball. Although he's improved his defense. So it just impacts a lot of different things. And we don't know what way they're going to go there. Breakout candidates. I've given this description enough. I'm not going to do it again here. But I think it has to be the koala, Evan Mobley. Because I can look at his projections. He's heading into year 3. He's already got an all-defensive team and top 3 defensive player of the year finish, and he deserved it. He's absolutely an elite defender. And I think he's got actually really high offensive upside as well. It's year 3. The structure of the team makes it a little bit hard for him to break out. So when I project it, it is harder to do. But when we talk about breakouts, what chance of someone being 10% better than their numbers 20% better? He's got it. I'm not sure that Garland can do it. Mitchell can't. I don't think Strus can. I don't think LeVert can. I don't think Allen can. I don't think that Amani Bates or Sam Merrill or Tristan Thompson can. I don't think George Niang can. I think he can. Whether he does it, I don't know. I don't predict it. I don't expect it. But it's not going to shock me if Mobley just goes bananas this season and establishes himself as a legitimate all-star, all-NBA caliber player. And that sort of upside that's there makes you want to target him in the appropriate spot in drafts. Appropriate spot. Not too high, but he's always going to be, ooh, Mobley's there. Sounds about right. Can we get better than this? That's always what we're looking at with breakout candidates. Is the likelihood of him beating the baseline higher than it is than him coming under the baseline? And you would say for him that's a 2-to-1 higher versus lower. Easy. And that makes a good draft pick. That makes a good draft pick. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. And if you bet on the Miami Dolphins, oh yeah, I know the score now, we won, so you would have won as well. The Super Bowl, it's coming back. It's coming back home. It hasn't been a long time, and you can bet futures, money lines, player props, tour MVP bets. It's all there over on FanDuel. So if you've been thinking of joining FanDuel, there's no better time. Put your $5 in, get your $200 of bonus bets out of them, and load up on the Dolphins. Do I know anything about the NFL? Actually, more than you think. But do I actually think they're going to win the title? I don't know. We're looking pretty good, though. We're looking pretty good. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Just realized I screwed that up because I hit the wrong button. But I'm going to hit it again because we're going Evan Mobley, the koala. We're putting him under the lens. what do we think about the koala? Why do I call him the koala? You ready for a story? You might not remember this one. I was at the, when ChatGPT really started coming to fruition or coming to the fore, I was playing around with it. I said, hey, this is who I am. Let's do some nicknames, right? This is what I do. Aussie spin, Aussie nostalgia, pop culture, whatever, give nicknames to players. Have you got anything that you could come up with for Evan Mobley? And old mate, Chat, went, all right, how about we call him Eucalyptus Ev? And I went, there's no way. We call Eucalyptus Ev for a start. Eucalyptus, I didn't mean go that Australian, talking about trees. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But we're nimble. We're on our feet. We're on our toes. We worked with it. Eucalyptus Ev. Koalas eat eucalyptus leaves. Let's call him the koala. It is the perfect illustration of an Australian nickname. It comes from absolutely nothing, and we're always 2 to 3 steps removed from what the initial nickname was. So Eucalyptus Ev is stupid. The koala is cool, but it also makes no sense whatsoever. So that's why we call him the koala. Evan Mobley, the koala. Someone also told me apparently that in Turkish, his name sounds like billiard, which I don't mind that as well. Old 8-ball legend, Evan Mobley. But that's beside the point. Is it? Or is it the point of the show? No, it is beside the point. We're looking at Mobley. We're going in depth. We're digging in. He was really good last season, but he didn't take a gigantic step forward. And that is because of the scaffolding of this team. Getting Mitchell in there, we would have hoped that if Mitchell wasn't there, Mobley would have taken a usage step forward. He would have blown through numbers. But sitting as that number 3 offensive option, and at times too when Levert was out there, really sort of held him back somewhat. He did finish 47th in Yahoo Points Leagues, 52nd in ESPN, and 57 in -1 head-to-head fantasy ranks. All that is fine. But he was getting drafted in the 30s. So I love Mobley. I would have taken him number 2 in that draft, no hesitation whatsoever. And would I even take him over Cade now? I might. He's already proven to be an elite defender. But the ability to take that step forward wasn't necessarily there. So we look at what he did. He played 35 minutes a night. That's not really going up too much from there. He averaged 18 points a game and almost 10 rebounds. He averaged over 3 assists, 1.6 blocks, shooting 57 from the field, 66 from the line. The problem here is very, very glaring in terms of his overall numbers. He shot 29% from 3. Like, that just has to go up. He took a big step forward with his 2-pointers. He needs to become a 34% guy. He needs to start stretching the floor, especially if they're going to gamble with him playing at power forward next to Jarrett Allen. It's very clear, I think, that he needs to be a center, and he will be a dominant center moving forward. He's not there yet, very obviously, because of things that are out of his control and the investment in Jarrett Allen and the way the team is structured. And you're getting your better 2 players or your best 5 guys on the court all the time is the way to go, even though the positional stuff, it might not be ideal. But at some point, that has to change. So we look at his numbers, and you can see on the screen, I'm going to get to it in a second. You can see the -1 weekly ranks for him over the course of the season. But if you have a look at what he was able to do in the minutes that he played without Jarrett Allen last season, he was able to get a effective field goal percentage of 59%. Really strong number. And if you can contrast that with where he was at 50, he was at 58, let's say 59, so a bit of an increase there. The other thing we take a look at is, defensively, his block rate when he played without Jarrett Allen, 2.7 blocks per 100 possessions. That's a really nice number. Playing more at center, when he played alongside Allen, I'm going to bring that number up as well, he was at 1.7. Like, that's huge, right? That's a huge difference. Rebounding numbers, total rebound rate, 13.1 per 100 possessions. Playing next to Jarrett Allen, without Jarrett Allen on the court, you see where we're going with all this. So 13.1 without Jarrett Allen, 13.3. Not a big difference, but it's an increase. A block rate increase, an efficiency increase. Do that full time. Do that over the course of the season. All these little things give you 5, 10 fantasy spots. Go from 28 to 33 shooting, and you're another 5 up. Get 2 usage percentage points, you're another 5 up. And that's how you become a top 20 player. The -1 ranks, it was a bit of a rough stretch in the middle of the season, but you see there are many weeks here of top 30, top 20 production. In fact, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks where he was a top 20 -1 fantasy rank player. Remember, for the season, he was 57th. 4 weeks of top 20. I can see another 3 weeks of top 30. So that's 8 top 30 weeks. And I can see another 1, 2, 3 top 50 weeks. So that's 11 out of 24 fantasy weeks as a top 50 -1 player. Now, there were some shitty ones in there, 117, 120, 180, with some injuries, a 275 where he didn't play barely at all. But this is why averages can be very misleading in fantasy. So some good numbers. The other thing he needs to improve is free throws. And unfortunately, they got worse as the season went on. You see, he hovers under that 75. We need him at 75. And it decreases as the season went on. And unfortunately, towards fantasy playoffs, there were some real harmful weeks. He doesn't take many, but as he gets better, he will take more. As he gets more usage, he will take more. And if they come in at 68 instead of 78, that hurts. Now, you can always punt, of course, but the more value we can get, the better it is. The other thing I want to look at with him is his field goal percentage. And there's a slight negative trend there, but overall, he's relatively consistent, which is a good thing. He took some big steps up in his field goal percentage this season through his 2-pointers, and there is room for this to grow based on threes. The other thing we look at are his block numbers. Started off a little bit slow, but in the end, we were getting big block numbers towards the end of the season. Last week wasn't particularly good, but we had a week there of 11 blocks in a week. And as I said, when he doesn't play with Jarrett Allen, well, we almost doubled. Didn't quite, but let's say we added 35% on to his block numbers, which of course is always going to be beneficial. We all know he's a stud. We know there's unbelievable value in Evan Mobley as a player. But when you look at a graph like this, the Darko DPM change, which accounts for the slope of rise of his production, even though that slope is slowly starting to come down, it's miles above the zero. So just continuing to improve at a fairly solid rate 2 years in. And we expect him to continue to improve again in year 3 as an impact player. And this is when we're talking a little bit more into dynasty stuff, but also real life. The more you start to, the better you are as an impact guy, the more the ball comes to you, the more minutes you get, the more secure your role is. And we always want to see that. So while it doesn't always translate, like does Darko translate directly to fantasy rank? No. But it gives you a level of security. If someone's out there putting up okay fantasy numbers, but their overall impact stats in a bunch of other advanced metrics are pretty poor, you should be looking at any time this could go south. Through another player coming in, through a trade, through anything. Shout out to Kelly Oubre. Like any of this stuff can happen, right? That's always when you look at consistency and stability and encouragement for growth. I like this basketball index headshot graph that we've got here. It's tracking two things. Their playmaking talent metric with a percentile graph, and their D LeBron, one of their key stats to hopefully show in numbers, overall defensive talent on a percentile graph. We've got a bunch of guys on this, a bunch of guys who I think they're not necessarily equivalents, but they play similar positions, and there are some things that cross over there. So I've got Julius Randle, Zion Williamson, Pascal Siakam, Karl Anthony Towns, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. You will notice that in D LeBron, Mobley's basically 100th percentile, the best, if not the best, it's 2 best, 3 best defenders in the entire NBA. The one on the y-axis is playmaking talent percentile. So I chose all of these guys because they all get the ball in their hands as big men and can create for others. So Julius Randle, we know he plays power forward. He's a shocking defender. That's why he's under 25th percentile in D LeBron. But he's got some decent playmaking talent. But Mobley grades higher as a playmaker. Ball in his hands, he has graded higher, creating for himself, creating for others. That should open your eyes a little bit 2 years in. The guy who is really close to, obviously much better as a defender, in terms of playmaking talent percentile, we're talking about, it's not a big, let me rephrase that with Randle. Randle's like 86th percentile and Mobley's like 88th. Be still better. I don't think many of you would have thought that Mobley would have graded better than Julius Randle. And then the next one where there's a small difference is between Zion Williamson as a playmaker and Evan Mobley. Now, the guys higher than him are Towns, Siakam, and Giannis. Towns is a very good offensive playmaker. Siakam's improved a ton there, and Giannis is excellent. Mobley's got them all covered defensively. So what he needs, and again, I don't think you would have thought that Mobley was 88th percentile in playmaking. Him pushing up to being 90th percentile, he's 2 years in. He could easily do this. So what is the ceiling of Mobley? Is it Giannis? I'll whisper it, but yes. That wasn't a whisper, it was the same volume. Yes. Yes, it is. And that's bloody exciting. Really bloody exciting. So that was really eye-opening to me. I know he's a good defender, but turning that level of defense in year 2 with that level of playmaking talent in year 2 should be, did it again, hit the wrong button, should be very, very intriguing to players, or to even to him, as we move forward. There's not much in terms of sleepers and busts on this team. But I am going to talk about one guy who might be a sleeper, and that's Drakaris Levert. I talked about Mobley being a breakout guy before, but I think he's being ranked and positioned in the right spot. If we'll just work it back a little bit. Mobley sits with a ranking on, where is he? Ranking on Yahoo, an ADP of 44, a rank of 41, an ESPN rank of 48. It's all about right. That's all about where he sits in that area, I think. I think that's all fair to look at Mobley in those zones and go, yeah, that makes a bit of sense to have him in that area. I think that's fair, yeah? But Levert, according to these numbers, would be absolutely completely undraftable, basically. He's ranked 166 on Yahoo. He's got an ADP of 150. His Fantrax ADP is 235, which is nonsense. His ESPN rank is 194 for categories, 143 for points. He's got an ADP of 139 on ESPN. But with Rubio out, he's probably going to have to do more. He can be a top 120 Yahoo Points League player. He could be a top 120 ESPN Points League player. He could be a top 130 Category League player. And the value would rise if Mobley or if Garland or Mitchell went down. So we don't usually consider last round picks like a player like Levert, who just re-signed, who is, 7-8 years in the league. Oh, maybe he'd be a good last round flyer. Actually, I'm starting to think that he is. And he's available everywhere. So you don't have to take him with those hyped up flyers in round 11 like Paul Reed. Don't take him earlier. He's a guy that's going to go there. Or Amen Thompson or Asar Thompson. He can get Levert with a last round pick. And there is some value in it at that spot. Plus more upside. Now, he can be frustrating with percentages. He can be frustrating with needing the ball in his hands. But the lack of ball handling on the second unit makes him a pretty interesting player to me. Yeah, pretty interesting just as an option late to have a crack at. The question for your Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl entry does refer to Caris LeVert and how many minutes did he play last season. So, in the entry form, I just want you to write the number 30. He played 30 minutes a night last season, LeVert, and probably should tell you his numbers. He averaged 14, 3.5 and 4 with a steal, over 2 threes, 43 and 72. That's the problem, is the RJ Barrett percentages. But 4 assists, 1 steal. Rubio's not there. Maybe he goes up a bit. But the number you want to answer in the entry form is 30 for minutes per game for Caris LeVert. The fantasy busts is empty. I don't actually think there's anyone who strikes me as a bust. I think there's some worry with Jarrett Allen. Do they trade him somewhere? Does he see fewer minutes? There is a risk of that. But Jarrett Allen's got an ADP of 60 on Fantrax, 59 on Yahoo, 79 on ESPN. That probably even classifies as a sleeper, to be honest. I think he's just relatively solid. I don't think there's any upside in him. But he's not busting at those spots. I think there's a lot there with Allen just to be safe and solid in the middle rounds if you're in round 5 and you went upside in 4 and you're going to go upside in 6, I think he's okay there. And if he did get traded, I would imagine he'd be in a similar role. So I don't have anyone as a bust. But I do have Ricky Rubio's mental health as an injury concern because we just don't know if or when he is going to play. And at the moment, that's the only guy that's really hurt or unavailable for this team heading into the season. And we're not drafting Rubio anywhere, of course, but their point guard situation's rough. It's going to mean more staggering of Mitchell and Garland, which then means more minutes for Strus playing the 2. It means more minutes for Okoro and LeVert playing the 3. What is a trade they could do? Well, I've talked about it already. Jarrett Allen, I think, would be the guy I'd look to trade. You put Mobley in an advantageous situation, but at the moment, you don't have a power forward who's good. Yes, you could theoretically play Georgie Niang there. That might work, but it's him or Dean Wade. Like, you don't want to go into a season with those guys. They'd want to get more wings back. They'd want to get a forward back. They'd want shooting around Mobley. Spot ups around Mitchell and Garland instead of having Okoro there. They'd want a backup point guard as well. It'd be something they'd look for. So if they were to trade away Allen, they'd need to get another forward in. They need to get some wings and some shooting in as well. Just watch for that. I don't think it would impact Allen sizably if he was traded, but what they would get back would be very interesting to watch. 2 guys coming out of contract next season. Damian Jones is unrestricted free agent. Isaac Okoro is restricted. Okoro is a really good defender. He's just horrible offensively, and he hasn't really taken many steps forward in that area, and that's why they went out and got Max Strus to replace him and re-signed Karis LeVert. I don't really know where Okoro goes. I'd be doubtful that he's getting paid more than $10 million a year, but the defense is useful. And Damian Jones should be the backup center. Well, they're an interesting team, is that they start their backup point guard and their backup center in Mobley and Mitchell. So the backup center is technically Damian Jones, but he's the 3rd string center. And the backup point guard is Donovan Mitchell, but it's technically Karis LeVert or Ty Jerome. You could say that Tristan Thompson would be the backup center. You'd be wrong, but you could say it. For some reason, he is back on this team and their Cavs legend returning. But yeah, we don't need to worry about that for fantasy. What are the rotation risks? I guess we're going to talk about Okoro. What if they just don't play him? What if Strus, Niang, LeVert, they get all that playing time? I think it's possible. Like, they obviously don't trust Okoro. But he also could come in and outplay Strus. Because, again, let's be honest, Strus isn't that good. I don't think he's worth $16 million. He'd want to bloody shoot 40% from 3, something he's done for 1 NBA season, to be worth that money. Or is he turned into Duncan Robinson? But there is a risk of Okoro. And the other risk of Strus is he's just too small. What is he, 6'4", next to 6'1" Donovan Mitchell and 6'2" Darius Garland? That's bloody small, man. I know there's 2 7-footers in the front court, but any chance of someone who's intermediately sized? And who guards point guards and wings? Is it Garland, Mitchell, Strus? Because none of them can do it. Mitchell's long, obviously, but his defensive focus isn't there. So while we expect Strus to start, I wouldn't draft Strus in any 12-team format, by the way. Wouldn't touch him at all. There's a risk that he goes out there and they go, oh shit, we can't do this. We can't play these 3 guys together. It doesn't work. Back to LeVert, back to Okoro. And what if they do go small? What if Jarrett Allen, who I said was relatively safe, what if they say, look, it's not working. Mobley still can't shoot. We need him at center. George Niang is actually working as a sizable player at forward who can shoot. So Allen plays 27, Mobley plays 35, and Niang plays. Or Dean Wade plays. Or, I was going to say, Sam Merrill gets into the rotation because he can bloody shoot. It's a risk with the Allens. It's not a risk for Mobley, but it is a little bit of a risk for Jarrett Allen there. There's no one who really translates as a good permanent monster. If something happened, they'd really blow through the roof. No one really looked that good to me. What about the depth chart? They do start 2 guards in Darius Garland and Don Mitchell. Let's talk a little bit about their overall fantasy value. Again, I don't see busts or sleepers really with these players. I think they're getting drafted the right spot. Mitchell's going about middle of the 2nd round. It's probably fair. I think that there's no real reason to argue with that. One thing you would watch is that at the start of last season, his assists were through the roof, and he really bumped his efficiency. The assists came really down at the end of the year, and I expect them to stay more along that line. And the efficiency, can he maintain it? And so there is a risk with him if you go too early in round 2. Remember, he's never really been that guy before. He did take big steps forward. Garland, it's hard for him to push high. I love Garland, but it's hard for him to push higher than this because of the presence of Mitchell. There's no reason that in the future, after Donovan Mitchell is traded or leaves, that Garland can be a 25 points, 3 threes, 9 assists, 1.3 steals player. He can, which is a top 15 guy comfortably. But it's just hard to see how that happens this season. They're going to start. They're going to be relatively reliable. I think there's more aggression value or more aggression risk with Mitchell than there is with Garland. But Garland also saw his assist numbers drop as the season went on because early in the year, the Cavs were hitting or converting a lot of shots at a higher than expected rate, and that sort of came back to normal. Maybe that changes later on. But there was also the impact of Ricky Rubio, second half of the season, being there as a backup playmaker, which impacted Garland and Mitchell's assists. Now, Rubio's not there, so maybe we see both those numbers jump a little bit more again, similarly to the beginning of last season. Their backup guards are Rubio, Ty Jerome. There's Sam Merrill, who's just exclusively a shooting guard, and two-way guy Craig Porter. Watch Craig Porter. He is like a Derek White sort of a player. An unbelievable defensive shot-blocking guard who's only like 6'3". It's got some shooting ability, but it's defense. And if that player ever hits, it's unlikely, but Derek White was unlikely at pick 30 or pick 28, wherever it was. This is more unlikely because he's an older player on a two-way deal. He's got a really interesting fantasy game. The wings, Max Strus will probably start. He'll probably score 15 points and maybe 3 threes, and that's not all that useful. It's Corey Kispert, but probably worse. It's not that good. It's a great streamer. When we've got one of those 16 max weeks of the Cavs, add him in, you might get 15 threes for the week. You might get 70 points for the week. And not much else, but you don't want to hold him through all that. Then backing up, it's Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro, and then Amani Bates is a two-way guy who did have an okay summer league, but he's going to be very inefficient, and he's barely going to play, I would guess, for the main team this season. They don't start a forward. And a forward is someone to me that is a small forward, power forward sort of combo, doesn't play center, doesn't play guard. They don't start any of those guys. In fact, they've got none of them on the roster really outside of Dean Wade and the big fella, the minivan, George Niang. Now, Niang is a very good shooter. He's very slow defensively. He's not a good playmaker, but he's a good shooter. As I said earlier, if they do downsize away from Jarrett Allen, Niang could get more minutes. And then he moves into a Max Strus type streaming guy. As an elite threes guy, watch their max weeks. Their max weeks are interesting because that might mean Niang gets a lot of opportunities to shoot. And their bigs, it's Mobley and Allen who are starting. Yeah, Mobley's fine as a 4th round guy. Allen's like a 5th round player. Breakout opportunity for Mobley, but some concerns clearly as we've dealt with. And their backup situation is Tristan Thompson, it's Damo Jones, and it's Isaiah Mobley, who played really well in Summer League. Isaiah, he's quite a good passer. He showed some shooting chops as well. He's still on a two-way. I would have loved for them to have converted him to a full-time deal instead of bringing in Tristan Thompson. Mobley could be a 3rd-string center maybe next season, but I wouldn't put huge amounts of money on it. But you can see the gigantic sort of need for a forward. So if Jarrett Allen does go, and they do trade him, or they bite the bullet and trade Don Mitchell, I don't think they will, but watch it, they need a forward. They just don't have any. Let's look at Durant and Bazemore. Durant was actually down on Garland this season, which is, okay, interesting. Pushed him into like actually, let me just look at those numbers exactly. Pushed Garland to like the 50th spot. That's not great. So I'm still happy with him in round 3, don't get me wrong, but some of the metrics may overvalue him. But it actually, and usually Durant downgrades the blocks guys, but it actually likes Mobley and Allen. It pushed them up. It pushed Allen actually ahead of Mobley, which I thought was very interesting. And it pushed Mobley out 10 or 12 spots higher than regular rankings as both 4th round guys. It also really didn't like Max Strus, so dropped him down. He's probably like a 16-team league guy. For Bazemore, both Don Mitchell and Evan Mobley come out as top 15 players for Dynasty. Darius Garland, top 40, but that's not baking into the fact that we don't expect Donovan Mitchell to stay on this team. And when Mitchell goes, Garland will be top 15. And Karis LeVert pushes outside the top 150. And that will do it for me today. 3rd show for the day. We're going to get lots of these shows coming. Another opportunity for you to enter the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. I hope you got some information about the Cleveland Cavs and enjoyed the show. Cleveland Cavs sounds stupid. It's either the Cavs or the Cleveland Cavaliers. I apologize for that misstep. Follow this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. And if you're on YouTube, thumb it up and leave your comments down below, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening. See ya.
Another one.